Hello and welcome to the Daily Royal. My name is Shelby and I have been a royal watcher for the past 10 years. In this podcast, I talk about the daily events of 7 of the European monarchies. So I talk about Belgium, the UK, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, and Sweden. I upload Monday through Friday with occasional bonus episodes here and there. Today we are going to be talking about all of the events from Monday, August 30th through today, which is Wednesday, September 1st of 2021. Welcome to September, everybody. It's been a really strange couple of days, just in my life and kind of adapting to doing this podcast while also working a different job where I can't, so I've talked about this. My previous job, I was a DoorDash driver, right? And that was wonderful. And it was great because I was able to sit in my car in times that I was waiting on orders to do this work. And that was totally awesome for me. However, it really stopped meeting my needs a while ago. And it's been time for a while. So for the past few weeks, I have been adjusting to a new job that I have part-time, and I'm very excited about it. But I have no time to be on my phone, ever, which is fine, but it's just a little bit of a different kind of schedule than I have had since I started this podcast a year and a half ago. I went through this once and it was a really terrible situation, and this is better for sure. It's just different. And so yesterday, I totally forgot about posting on Instagram, because I just forgot. So I'm working on getting a different kind of schedule routine set up, and then I'll be more timely with everything. Also, I changed my recording time. So I frequently used to record at 7:30 at night, which is totally fine. However, that didn't leave me with enough time to really play with the audio ever. So that's something that I really want to work on and grow and have the audio become better on this podcast. So that is something that will be kind of changing throughout. That certainly won't be an immediate change. I will be completely honest. I've never had a microphone. I use my computer and I have a MacBook Pro. So my microphone is really good on my computer, but I think it could be better with an actual microphone. So we'll see. That's something that's in process. There's a lot of things that I have planned. That being said, we'll just see what happens. Like I said, I'm going to work with the audio a lot more because I have more time. So I'm recording this instead of at 7:30, I'm recording at 6:45. So just a 45-minute difference, but that's 45 more minutes that I can hopefully spend working on this. Also, today is just hard because it's the first of the month. So you'll notice if you follow me on Instagram, lots of things have been updated and on the website. So on the first of every month, I always put up the engagement count for each royal family last year. So that's something that I do. I can only do late on the 31st or early on the 1st, which I did today. And the other thing I do is I make a look ahead. So I just update a ton of things. I also do a lot of stuff on the business side, the back end, to start a new month. And so I did all that today, and I have basically been working nonstop, including my part-time job, since 7:30 this morning. It's a 12-hour day. Not all days are like this, but today is a marathon. So anyway, we are going to jump in. We have, I think, an update from every single royal family, which makes me really excited because you guys can all hear the transition that I have created. So I promised I would premiere the transition today, and that is what we are doing. I am really excited. So without further ado, we are now going to move on to the Belgian royal family. Belgium. All right, what did you guys think? I hope you liked it. I I'm still not 100% sure this is what I like permanently want. I think I like it a lot more than what I had. It's still similar, but it also includes like just some fun transition. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it. I really liked it, but it's not that different, but I still like it. So we'll see. We'll probably live with this through at least December. And if I really dislike it, then I will adjust. But anyway, so in Belgium, there weren't a ton of things. So people are still coming back to work pretty slowly. But over the past few days, we have gotten at least an update from everybody. So I will say on Monday, King Philippe resumed his meetings with the Prime Minister. This is something he does every single Monday, almost without fail, except for when like the government and the king are on vacation. And then like there aren't meetings because everyone's on vacation. But he held that meeting on Monday. So that was the first thing. Not a huge, big thing. But then we get to the 31st. So yesterday, it's been kind of this like what's up in the air. Where is Princess Elizabeth going to go receive her next step in her education process? And that was finally announced yesterday. So she will be attending Lincoln College, which is part of University of Oxford in the UK. And so it's something that I had to like research a ton of because I'm from the States, and we don't do like colleges like this. I mean, we kind of do in like our Ivies, but not really. So everything is part of Oxford University, but then there are like smaller colleges within that, which is where students live and take the majority of their classes. And then they use like Oxford University resources. So it's just like a little bit different. It's like a smaller college within a large university system. So this is similar. It's not the same, but it's similar to like the University of California. So University of California has UCLA, UC Berkeley, like it's one big university system. It's all the University of California, but then there are different like campuses. So it's kind of similar, but not exactly. And then, so that was announced, and she will be taking a 3-year course in history and politics, which is like a double major kind of situation. And they're 3-year courses. So this is a little bit different than, again, if you're from the States, we do a 4-year undergrad. Whereas the undergrad in the UK are typically 3-year programs with a 4th-year option if you're going to like get a master's included. So she is going to do this step next and then possibly continue on and get her master's degree in something. You know, she's following pretty closely along with her father's steps. So he did attend a college at Oxford. It was not Lincoln, but he did attend an Oxford college. And then went on to do his master's degree, his graduate degree at Stanford University, which is in California. And it's not known. And obviously there are 3 years. So she will be going back to the UK starting in October for 3 years of undergrad. They did also make the statement that she will be returning to Belgium to be a part of Belgian public life, which indicates to me that she may be taking on a slightly more public role in the future, like soon. Not that she will be doing something every month or even every week for sure, but like when she is on breaks, because of the way the Oxford system runs, you're basically splitting your time in half. So like for 6 months of the year, she'll be in England, and then for 6 months, she'll be able to be in Belgium. So we'll see what that looks like. She has to go to university and then have 8 weeks, and we'll see what happens. I certainly want to say this now. I don't have a huge expectation for these young royals who are potentially taking on institutional duties to be doing so anytime soon. I think education is extremely important. The Belgian royal family is fine. They aren't like in an extreme dire circumstance for needing people to maintain their workload. which I think is where it's supposed to be. So I think, she'll certainly take on some more institutional duties, but we'll see as time goes on what that looks like. So with that is the big update. Alongside with that was a new photo. And then it turns out that new photo was part of like a series of new photos, because another new photo was released today by the Belgian royal household of all 4 children. So Princess Elizabeth, Prince Gabriel, Prince Emmanuel, and Princess Eleanor, who to basically mark the first day of school for many Belgian students. So September 1st marks the first day of school for a lot of students throughout Belgium. And so they just shared like a back to school photo. So this was pretty much tradition up until, well, even last year they did it. They have always publicly shared their children's first day of school. And last year they did the same thing as well. However, now they have one starting university, one doing like a year kind of pre-university. One is going to like the International School of Brussels, and then Eleanor is still in public school. And so it's just like, you can't really do it anymore because it's not the same. But I do like that they shared this photo. I think that was a really great way to keep that part alive, knowing that this is a phase that will end fairly soon. So I don't know. I just thought it's interesting to watch these changes happen. So with that is the updates in Belgium. And so now we are going to move on to the UK. The United Kingdom. There is just not a lot to update on from the British royal family. Like, just genuinely not that much happening. I went through and I did like all of the engagement counts, and really and truly I did not expect the British royal family numbers to be as low as they are, but they are extremely low. Which is fine. Like, vacations are totally fine. Month-long vacations. I wish I could have one. I got a week and I was still working my day job. Like, I didn't actually have a full week off of work, but I had a full week off of the podcast, and it was lovely, let me tell you. But like, at some point in my life, I do hope to have a month-long vacation. Are you kidding? That sounds fantastic. However, there was one event, and that happened yesterday. So on the 31st, the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall visited a town in Scotland. So they are still in Scotland near Balmoral, spending summer holiday, which I expect to continue for at least another week, as we kind of go into, like, everyone's coming back. So I know the Queen stays up in Balmoral for at least another month. But I expect Charles and Camilla, as well as William and Catherine, to be starting to take on engagements like near or in England soon-ish, at least. Maybe not like right away, but in the next week, at least from Charles and Camilla in England. But we'll see. I could be completely wrong. I honestly have never followed that closely before. So, and last year 2020 is just not a good test subject because pandemic. So anyway, they visited a town called Ballater, where they opened the new Ballater Community Center. And then they were able to do, it's not quite a walkabout, they weren't shaking hands, but there were people gathered and they were able to say hello, which is fascinating. Just because, like, it's weird to see crowds again, but also it's really nice to have a sense of normalcy brought back to events like this. I'm really looking forward to what the rest of the year brings, not only in the UK, but like also in all of our other countries, as crowds kind of continue to grow, and we'll see. So hopefully we'll continue to see an uptick of events, even if they're happening in Scotland. That's totally fine. I just kind of honestly, like, miss talking about the British royals a little bit. Not a ton, but a little. So anyway, with that, we are now going to go ahead and move on to the Danish royal family. Denmark. Denmark is, of course, where things are busy, as they have been for the past few weeks. Scandinavia has really been busy over the last 3 days, whereas everybody else that I'm talking about really haven't been, even though we have updates from each place. They just haven't been that busy. So Denmark is really interesting because Queen Margrethe took on what I guess is called like these summer trips or summer... I think the Danish royal house calls them summer trips, where she visits different municipalities. It's interesting because, like, I don't really think Denmark is considering themselves in summer anymore. Like, they have fully transitioned to fall weather, and yet Margrethe is taking on these summer trips. I don't really understand. I just think it's really interesting that they're, like, called summer trips. Like, why not call it end of summer or something like that? I understand that it is still officially summer and not autumn. I do understand. However, it just feels very, like, Denmark, I don't think, is really feeling summery anymore. But it's a great way for her to, like, go and visit different municipalities throughout the country. This is something that I think she does every year. Again, 2020 is different. 2020 is, like, a beast in and of its own, and that I can't really compare anything that we talked about last year to this year, because a lot of things didn't happen, and the things that did happen were super scaled down. So it's just a process. And anyway, so she visited 3 municipalities over the past 3 days. On Monday, she visited Thisted. On Tuesday, she visited Esbjerg. And on today, she visited the municipality of Fanjul. These all had the same similar feel. So arrival at the port on the royal yacht. She is traveling on the royal yacht to get to these locations. So arrival at the port, some sort of transportation to the official reception at what is typically the city hall. Yesterday on her visit to Esbjerg, there was a horse-drawn carriage, like, parade waiting for her to travel. And then in the afternoon, after the official reception, she will visit various locations. So she visits businesses, schools, like today was a daycare, cultural sites, like cultural places, museums, etc., concert houses, various things in the municipality, just to get a feel for what is going on throughout the entire area. It's really interesting. It's very similar to, like, the pandemic tours we've seen from the Spanish royals and the Swedish royals, as well as Norway also does municipality tours like this. We just haven't seen a ton of them this year, and we didn't see hardly any last year other than, like, in Spain, because pandemic. So it's just a way to, like, experience the part of the city, the country. And of course, I'm sure, being Denmark's size and Margrethe's length of her reign, I'm sure she has seen a lot of these places, but things change. And so it's really nice to see her continuing to visit and partaking in different activities. So really not like a huge update. I mean, I could have made that a lot longer, but I condensed it. And then also today, Crown Prince Frederik presented the 2021 Danish Business Award at the anniversary celebration for the Danish business. I think it's like the Danish Chamber of Commerce kind of thing, but they just called it the Danish Business, is what Google Translate did, so I don't entirely know. Again, I don't speak all of these languages. For those who are new, I don't speak all of these languages. That's, I think, 5 languages that I would need to learn at a minimum. Well, kind of just for, but it's not happening. I am proficient in Spanish, and I would like to become fluent in Spanish, but that's turning out to be a lot more of a process than I thought it would be, which I shouldn't be surprised with. And I am starting to recognize words in Dutch, but I don't know that I have any desire to speak Dutch, just throwing that out there. But anyway, I rely on Google Translate like a lot, and sometimes they get things wrong. And this feels like one of them. Like, Danish business is not a complete organization name. So I'm not entirely sure. So anyway, he delivered that prize. There haven't been any pictures or anything released that I have seen. It was just on the calendar. And then also today, Crown Princess Mary took part in the Responsibility Day hosted by the Copenhagen Business School. And again, this is something I don't have a whole lot of information on because it wasn't updated on with the Danish royal household website. It'll probably be updated tomorrow. However, I have talked about this before. I'm only going to talk about the things the day they happen, and if there aren't details, there aren't details. We're just going to move on. I'm changing it up a little bit right now because, like, things are being released the next day, and I'm still so far, like, I'm not doing dailies, but, like, things that happened today, if they weren't expounded on, I'm not going to expound on them later. So anyway, that is what was going on in Denmark. We are now going to move over to the Dutch royal family. The Netherlands. In the Netherlands, it was actually, again, pretty quiet. Originally, the anticipated back to work date was September 2nd. There weren't any events on the calendar when I recorded on Sunday for Wednesday or Thursday. However, or Tuesday or Wednesday. However, we had some surprise things. I was mildly anticipating an update on the 30th. From the Dutch royal household, and they did deliver, as it was the first day of classes for United World College of the Atlantic, which is the school that Princess Alexia will be attending this year. So the royal household released a photo taken by King Willem-Alexander, assumingly before she went to the airport to travel to Wales to go to school. This was a super exciting update. I was really happy to see this. The photo was really interesting. So she had like a shoulder bag, but then she also had her guitar on her shoulder. So it was really exciting to like see just a piece of like her personality come through and like personal interests and things like that. Look, I respect everyone's right to privacy, even if you're a royal. Like, you are certainly entitled to your private life, private hobbies, etc. But it's just nice to, like, have a little clue in of, like, who these girls actually are. Or, like, who any of them are. Not just, like, the children, but, like, who any of them really are. It's just kind of fun. So I was really happy to see that. So that was a really fun update. And then we also, so on Tuesday, King Willem-Alexander had a lot of institutional duties. So I think on Tuesday he swore in the new Minister of Infrastructure and Water Management. And then today he continued in like those institutional roles. Today he swore in new state councilors, Supreme Court judges, and then he also had a meeting with the informer, this is a role given to someone in the government to provide the king with information on the formation of a new government. So back in, I believe it was in May, it may have been even earlier, the government resigned because of like a scandal. And there were new elections held. I think the elections were held in May. So this happened sometime before that they resigned. The elections were held. And then because the Netherlands and many other countries that I talk about are not a two-party system, they have to form a coalition government. And that's typically going to be like a liberal or a conservative coalition between several different parties. And so that is a formation process that has to be approved and get voted on, and also like parties need to agree. And so the king is informed of this process throughout, especially as things get closer or the need to call for a new election were to come close. All of those things can happen. When it was very interesting when I started this podcast January of last year, Belgium was going through something very similar and had been for months before I started talking about it. And it wasn't until October of 2020 that government was officially installed. It took months. Now I will say there was a pandemic, and so that caused a lot of hold in that process because the government needed to take care of the pandemic. But it was still a thing. So that was really interesting. And so that's what he was doing today. However, he also did receive credentials from new ambassadors from Belgium, Germany, and Sweden. They presented their credentials today to the head of state, which is the king in this case, and have officially now begun their ambassadorship. They have probably been ambassadors for a while now, but they have officially been recognized. So that's always a good process and a good time. It's one of my favorite things, although I will say after almost 2 years, it is no longer that fun. I'm excited to see it when it comes back in normal world, but I think we're about as normal as we're gonna get for a while. So it's been fun, but I'm looking forward to so many new things now. This was just really oh, we're not getting anything good for a very long time. The ambassadors is still fun. When that's happening, that's still fun. I think that was the first thing that returned to normal, and it was oh, this is good. I like this. But anyway, so that was his day today. And then King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima do have a few events throughout the rest of the week. So that is very exciting. And with that, we are going to go ahead now and move on to the Norwegian royal family. Norway. In Norway, again, we have a traditional return to work as they have been back to work for weeks. They've been back, I think, for 2 weeks, not for weeks, but 2 weeks. So there haven't been a lot of absences from them. However, the start of this week was pretty quiet. And that's okay. So Monday, King Harald held a lot of audiences. And most of these were farewell audiences to former ambassadors whose time is up and they are returning back to their country. So their mission is concluded, and they will go back and then they will be replaced by a new ambassador. So there were a lot of those held, and the contents of those meetings are private, so I don't ever really talk about them, but I will from here on out probably just mention that they happened. And it was so many countries, I honestly didn't even write them down. And then on Tuesday, there were no events. And so today, there were two. Queen Sonja visited the new veterinary building at a campus, at a university. I believe it's called Campus Us, but I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that. And so this building is brand new. It's ginormous. I think it was 63,000 square meters, which is insane. If you're from the US, that's at minimum 630 square feet. It might be more. And that's not a perfect round. It's just kind of close. It might even be more, but it's huge. And it houses different internal buildings. It's a veterinary center, so it also hosts operation suites. There was at some point there was a place that held horses for horse veterinary medicine. Like, there was a lot going on. It's a big building. It was very cool. So that was a really fun event. And then also today, Crown Prince Haakon visited the Norwegian National Archives. The archives are taking on this process of digitization of like all of these medieval documents from like Viking age, right? And so he was there to learn more about that process, and then he himself was able to take part in, like, he was able to digitize one thing. So it was a letter from a Norwegian king whose name was also Haakon. I think it was like King Haakon the Fourth or something. I don't quite know what number this Crown Prince Haakon will be. But that was really cool. It just looks like a really fun event, and like super history buff, like nerd in me was like, oh my gosh, I want to see all these things now. Of course, I have no functional understanding of Norwegian. Like, none. I'm recognizing some words, but it's so funny because the words I recognize are very much royal related. Like, I obviously know at this point the word for king and queen and crown prince and crown princess and like palace and things like that. Like, I know those words. But I don't know basic things like the or where. Like, I just don't have those, which is fine. I don't need to. I'm totally okay with that. But it's really interesting because I'm like, oh, I want to see these. And I'm like, I have no functional understanding of what they're going to say. So why? But anyway, it was a fun event. And I just really enjoyed, like, again, this more normalcy thing that, like, I had in mind when I started this adventure. So that's what was going on in Norway. Now we are going to move on to the update from the Spanish royal family. Spain. In Spain, there actually haven't been any official engagements over the past 3 days. King Felipe is slotted to return completely tomorrow, with Queen Letizia joining in on the official calendar next week. However, August 30th was the first day of classes at United World College of the Atlantic in Wales. I know we've already talked about this. However, the Princess of Asturias, Princess Leonor, is also going to UWC Atlantic. And so she also had some photos released. And let me just tell you, I'm not sure why. I think maybe because they were family photos. I definitely felt some emotion. I won't say I full on cried, but there were definitely some, like, tears, like, forming in my eyeballs, because they just seemed really, like, I could totally relate to that situation. Not that I've ever gone to a boarding school at 15, but I did start college very young, and I very much understood that. So the Spanish royal household released photos of Leonor saying goodbye to her family, King Felipe, Queen Letizia, and the Infanta Sofia at the airport. And there were pictures of, like, hugs and just her carrying her suitcase and walking through just kind of the first layer of security. So right now, the Madrid airport, you can only really go in more than 20 feet, I would say, if you have a boarding ticket. Like, if you are boarding a plane, you can't just kind of roam around. I mean, you can't do this anyway, but, like, you know, where I live, our airport, like, you can kind of go in, you just can't obviously go through TSA because you don't have a boarding pass, but you can, like, go in, and there are some things that you can still do before you get to TSA, but then obviously you need a ticket to go through, travel, like, security. But this is because of COVID. Like, I don't even know what you can do in my airport. I haven't traveled during COVID. But because of that, like, you can really only go 20 feet from the door, if you don't have a boarding pass. And so they took photos there. Leonor walked in and then made her way to Wales. And then they released photos of her at the school as well, which was just really good. So we had kind of gotten through the day And I thought, like, oh, it's really late. Maybe they're not releasing any photos. I expected them to, but I thought, oh, maybe they're not. And then, like, within minutes of me thinking that, the photos came out. Like, I would say I thought that, and then maybe 10 minutes later, I saw the first one. So they had probably already been out. They hadn't made their way to, like, my brain yet. So that was a really big deal. A very exciting step in her future, and those photos, man, they're up on the website and on Instagram, and you can see them. And I'm telling you, if you don't feel every single one of those emotions, I don't know, like, maybe you're young and haven't gone to college yet, or, like, left home for more than a week or something, but, like, oh, those were real. Like, it just felt very real. Like, still to this day, seeing the pictures will bring a tear to my eye. Like, I don't cry, but, like, they're just very emotional to me, and, like, very exciting, and I'm very excited for her next step. So I thought that was really awesome, and that is the update from Spain. And now we are going to the Swedish royal family. Spain. There are very few times in the past couple of days where I thought, oh, I should definitely record a podcast every day because things are picking up enough. However, anytime I go to talk about the Swedish royal family and I put their stuff in my outline, I think, gosh, I should do an episode today because this is so much. However, it's only Sweden that is this busy, and it just is a busy season for them. Which happens, like, countries have ebbs and flows. The end of August, early September are really busy event-wise for the Swedish royal family, just historically. And so this is just part of that. However, we're having, like, 5 things a day, and it's a lot. But we're just really going to keep up with just talking about, like, the big things, and then just mentioning the smaller things because that's, what I plan to do on busy days where 7 countries have at least one event, is just talking about, like, the bigger ticket events in each country. So on Monday, we have Crown Princess Victoria and Prince Daniel visited an art gallery at Stockholm University called Accelerator, which is actually a really cool gallery that combines, like, the arts, the sciences, and the social sciences all together to, like, their art pieces focus on all of those things, which I think is really, really cool because there is such an intersection that you don't always see between art and science specifically, but even between science and the social sciences. Like, you just don't see how those relate very often, and so I think an art gallery that highlights that is really cool. So that was the big event on Monday. On Tuesday, there were a couple of things that I want to talk about. So the first thing, this is, like, maybe exciting to everyone, I'm not sure. So King Carl Gustaf, Queen Sylvia, Crown Princess Victoria, and Prince Daniel took part in a meeting with the Foreign Ministry ahead of the incoming state visit from the German, I think he's the president, and First Lady. So there will be another state visit. It's next week. It's early next week, which is really exciting. So incoming state visits are a little bit different than outgoing, because the Swedish royal family will not be involved in every single piece of the state visit. There are typically government things involved, as well as meeting with the royal family. And the meeting with the royal family is actually a small component. However, because it's something, I am holding out all hope for a tiara event and gala wear, because I miss it. And also just, like, I'm excited to see some foreign interaction. So that is a very exciting thing that is forthcoming. So that update is just really exciting. So that's why I wanted to share that part. And then the other big event on Tuesday is Crown Princess Victoria visited the Sustainable Fashion Hub, which is it's like a center during Stockholm Fashion Week that is happening right now. that is set up to hold events and different discussions focused solely on sustainable fashion. So this is something that I think is a really cool thing in general. Like, I love the idea of sustainable fashion. However, I am terrible at it. I just don't shop sustainable brands. I don't shop a lot of used, pre-loved, anything like that. Not for lack of wanting to. Mostly, I don't shop. Okay, just like throwing that out there. If I'm shopping, it's not for clothes. And then 2, like, typically if I need something, like, for example, I just had to buy new work clothes. My work clothes are very specific. I'm not going to share what they are because, like, I just feel like that's a little too personal. But, like, I had to get very specific items and I had to get them very quickly. So I ordered them on Amazon. Look, it's the way it is sometimes. I'm not going to, like, should I have done that? Absolutely not. Did I? Yes, because it was easy and convenient. So that's the deal. But I love the idea of sustainable fashion, and a lot of these things are like shared online, which I think is awesome. So that was the big event on Tuesday. Also just like Stockholm Fashion Week. And then today there were 3 events, but only one of them has been reported on so far. So Crown Princess Victoria today visited, I think it's called the Sami Parliament. So Sami is like a nation within Sweden, Finland, Norway, etc. It's a culture that is very much indigenous to that area. It's very cool. They are, in Sweden specifically, they have a parliament that is responsible for the ongoing education, language, culture of Sami, as well as, I think it's like reindeer herding. I don't know. Basically, these people are like magical reindeer people who I love. That is a very oversimplified version and probably not super culturally sensitive. But they have, they do have their own culture and their own history that is separate from like the Scandinavian history we all think of, which is like Vikings and fishmongers and things like that. So it's very different. And I think it's just really cool. And so Victoria was able to take part in the parliamentary opening session today. As well as visit some other pieces of culture throughout the Sami land, which is I think it's like the northern part of Sweden, obviously, like in the Arctic Circle. It's very cool. Anyway, I love when any royal does anything related to Sami because it's just really cool. So that is the update. I know this went really long, but I really wanted to get in all this information. I am still planning on recording again on the 6th and not until then. We'll see if that holds. I'm just going to pay attention. I'm doing an outline every day, so if I feel like there's enough information, I may record again on Friday. I'm not sure what to expect. Even though I've looked at the calendars, we'll see. And also it just kind of depends on what I need in terms of adjustment. And if I've recovered from today, because at this point I have now been working for 12 hours straight. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end this episode. Please check out thedailyroyal.com, The Daily Royal on Instagram, like and review this podcast, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a fantastic few days. Bye.